What? That was a rambling mess. Check us out in our, what the You want me to start over or just keep going from here?
Did you drop the F-bomb?
What is happening, everyone? My name is Phil with PrecisionLED, and welcome back to another episode of our Ultimate LED Tacoma build series. Now, in the last episode, we didn't quite finish what we wanted to, so we're gonna have to hurry up here. There's a whole lot going on here, but I'm just going to describe the basics for you so we can get started. We are installing now our 8-switch Switch Pros system with a custom SDHQ Toyota OEM look mount for the driver's side dash. Transfer all our switches over, and then we're gonna figure out how the rest of all this distribution block and wiring assembles to make this all happen. The whole point of doing this is to make all our lights work off this one panel. Let's get this installed first, and then we'll worry about all the distribution and wiring in the second half of this video. Let's get started. So this is the panel that we're gonna be replacing with the SDHQ panel, right? So we have to pull the dash down, unclip the switches here, transfer the stock ones over, and then get our switch panel mounted here and the wiring run through the firewall out to the engine bay. So first step, remove the dash. We got some 10mm sockets that need to come out. Ooh. Oh, good. It looks like someone actually did a decent job wiring. Ow. Maybe not. I just felt a shock. There we go. So our new panel, let's transfer these switches over. All right, that's pretty simple. And the last one, so I need a little flathead screwdriver to release these because this pin comes out this way. It doesn't come out this way. Oh, okay, that's one side. That's the other side. Boom. Okay. Very nice. Now we got to figure out how this plate all comes together. So SDHQ does have an install guide, but how complicated could it be? I mean, I would just assume this goes here. Maybe it goes on the outside. Yeah, right side up, okay. I don't know what this is for. Look in our bag of goodies. Is that what that thing is for? Can't be. What do you think, Brent? Okay, so this is how this works. These pins go in, right? And as long as it slides in like this, okay. I think that extra piece helps with tension. Right, look at that. That looks cool. And then this goes. Oh man. I think you have to install the faceplate first and then put this all in because these little black tabs won't fit through. Why did they do that? Well, I'm sure if we read the instructions, we'd know why.
How complicated could it be?
Okay, that's not going anywhere. So we do have the benefit of having had somebody already run a set of wires through the firewall to our dash here, and that was for the old light bar switch. So we're actually going to use this and use it to feed our new set of wires back through. The first thing that we need to do, I need to pull the pins from this connector so I can expose the wires, pull it through, and then reconnect this back. All right, let's do it on the workbench. Before I do this, I took some photos of the wires and the orientation so I know how to put it all back together later. When you look inside this connector, there are flaps on the inside holding the wires in place. So we'll do one, for example. When you push the wire in, it lifts up a plastic angled piece. It holds it in with tension, and you have to get a very small tool in there. You have to lift up the plastic to release the tension to slide the cable out. You also want to make sure that you maintain the orientation of all these switches, because these are bottom and these are the top. You see how they're inverted from one another? They don't all face the same direction. Bottom goes down, top goes up in terms of how they lay flat. So that's how it has to go back in. We have this assembly now. We are going to tape this together, tape it to the wires that we see protruding out of the firewall, and pull this through into the engine bay. Now, if you didn't have an old set of wires, you could just take a hanger. So the last time I did this, taped all this together with a small metal file, just anything pointy, pushed that through the firewall, grabbed it, and pulled it through. Doesn't really matter which one or method you use, as long as you can get it through the firewall. Now I can remove all this. Okay. So this is the old set of wires. We're gonna cut the old wiring harness. And that's an active connection, so let me turn the breaker off. All right, so now let's go to the engine bay and pull. Okay, this is it. If you look, as we pulled, actually my tape job came undone, so that wasn't a very good tape job, but it held on just long enough to get my wiring through. And now I can reassemble this connector and prepare this engine bay for our distribution block. And I took some photos to make sure I get the orientation correct. Okay, we've got white and green on top. All right, perfect. There we go. And this will plug into here, right? So the question is, what do all these wires do? And I know the answer to some. So out of this distribution pack, we have 3 wires that are longer than the rest. And there's a good reason for that. You have your blue wire, which is your ignition. And so this ties into any wire in the vehicle that turns on when ignition is turned on. And that is so that you can get the distribution system to work either with auxiliary battery power or only when engine's on. That's what this is for. Lights, the white wire, goes to your low beam headlights. And this is more of a trigger sensor so that the switch probe, it's a backlit system. So when the lights are turned on, it will dim at night. So it's not as bright. And then when the lights are turned off, it will obviously get a little bit brighter because it's daytime. So that's what that white one's for. This pink one, we're not going to worry too much about. This is a trigger wire. If you already had an existing switch that you wanted to set this trigger wire up to, you could program essentially this trigger wire to affect a couple other lights, kind of like a strobing or a momentary on-off effect. That's what that trigger wire is for. Like I said, we're not going to use a trigger wire. We don't have a need for it, but I am going to find a low beam headlight wire to connect this. I am going to find an ignition wire to connect this. And then all the rest of these guys, a little bit more easy to understand. We have a red wire that is power. We'll probably hook it up to our distribution block here. Any wire that has two of the same color is a 35 amp circuit. So you would wire the two grays together to create a 35 amp max circuit. Same with the two blues, same with the two purples and the two greens. And then the rest of them, where it's just a single colored wire, like this orange one, this is a 20 amp max circuit and only requires one wire. So that's how this thing generally goes. Light bars are typically 30, 35 amp max. So you'll want to have these two wires hooked in. That's switches 5 through 8. And then smaller wires, say like the ditch lights or underbody rock lights, those would be a single wire because those will probably only use 10 to 15 amps, 20 max on these lines. Cool? I'm gonna disconnect the old wiring for this light bar. We don't need it anymore. If you haven't noticed yet, I think we're smushing the wire that goes from this relay down to the light bar. Oh wow, that's why I was stuck. Cool. We'll leave that here for now. So this is the mounting bracket that comes with this block. This goes right here. I'm gonna have to adjust this bracket up. So we're gonna get rid of essentially the plastic protection piece here so that we can better accommodate this Switch Pros block. So what I'm actually going to do is create two more spaces for riv nuts right here and here. Drill out the panel with the hole here and here. Riv nut this thing up here so I can mount this block just like this. Okay, so I've got my holes here. I'm just selecting a position here where I'm going to transpose our holes. Quarter 20 riv nut goes out to 3/8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 stops on the multi-bit. That's one in, and now we'll do the other. Okay, holes seem to line up pretty well. Okay, we need to mount this first, then plate to chassis. We're mounted. Let's get our quarter 20s. In most installations, you would have your power from this block going directly to battery. Since we have a distribution system here with a 100 amp fuse, we're actually going to attach it to the bottom side of this here. But actually, I think I can put it right here. So we have one side that goes here. My only problem with this is I can't open the fuse box. So I have to reposition it. You like that? I am impressed with myself. I need to plug this system in. Let's just see if we can get power to the switchboard for now. All right, I'm gonna go turn the power on. What do you think is gonna happen? Think it'll work? 1, 2, 3. Anything? Really? Really? You're not lying?
Promise to happen.
Like it really did something?
Yeah, I swear.
Ready? I'm gonna do it again. Ooh. Hey, look, it did that.
It was nice, huh?
Okay. So the first thing we're gonna run is our negative terminal. And that's gonna run to our block. I still want to get the light bar wiring redone. So our front light bar is probably a 35 amp and the wiring harness is right here for it. Now, I don't believe this is going to make it over safely. We are going to combine this into a single line, which makes it 35 amp. And we'll wire this in and test the new switches to see if they work. And then if we have enough time, I will reconnect these Baja lights together and we'll connect that on a 15 or a 20 amp circuit and see if that switch works as well. So I've got this extension wire just for my positive and negative, and I've got all the leads exposed and some shrink wrap heat shrink tubing. So I got this from the old wiring harness for the light bar. And actually I'm going to use some of the rest of this wiring to fix these ditch lights, or these Baja Designs pod lights that we have that were cut for some reason. And I think I'll have enough wiring to do everything. So we are going to extend the leads here, run this around the battery, bring it over, connect our double green to positive, and then I will extend the black line over to this block. Okay, so we have our positives wired. We have our negative wired. We still need to address our ignition, but let's test the wiring job we just did. I'm gonna put this on a positive lead. That's gonna do an always on. Let's see if they work. Okay, it works. All right, so now we are going to look inside our fuse box. This is the moment of truth. Can we open the fuse box? Oh, thank goodness. So I am looking for something that says ignition or lights, like low beam headlights or something. This right here is our fuse jumper, and this is what we're going to use either for the lighting circuit or for the ignition circuit. So let's see what the instructions say. 12 volt ignition on circuit. So a 12 volt ignition on circuit could be any one of these fuses that only turns on when the engine or the ignition is turned on. So I think right there, ignition to main, that's a 20 amp. Got a fuse puller here. Let's see if this works on ignition. All right, fuse box is on. So this should not turn on now. Oh, why is it turning on? All right, so I couldn't actually find a good fuse to splice in our ignition trigger. I'm actually gonna feed this back through the firewall into the driver's side and tap into a cable there. And to do that, I've actually pulled my wire from inside as far in as it'll go. And I'm gonna use this as my fishing line, tape it in here, and then pull from the other side and bring it through. So now let's go ahead and find on the inside where we can splice in, and we'll actually use one of these crimp connectors to splice into a wire in there. I need to determine which, if any, of these wires are going to turn on when ignition is on, right? So right now ignition's on. I'm gonna get my tester. Oh, there we go. See how we got 10 volts here? Okay, so we don't want that one. This one? This one's an always on. We don't want that one. Maybe one of these guys. That might be the one, this brown cable right here. Yup. Okay, expose the wire. We're looking for this beige brown color. I'm going to splice this back just a little bit. See that right there? That way I can get my crimp connector on here. And now the moment of truth. We hook up our ignition cable. No ignition. Light switch is off, or the switch pro is off. Ignition turns on. And that's exactly what we want. Now I can actually button up all of this. So I'm going to clean up my cabling here, reconnect it, put this all back together, and at least we're done on the interior. All right, let's see. This goes here, here. There we go.
Ooh, it feels nice. Light's not turning on though.
Because the ignition is not on intentionally. There we go. Now that we have our ignition cable sorted, our headlight cable for the dimmer also needs to be wired in. And in all of our testing to try and find a proper ignition fuse, we found the headlight fuse. So this one should be pretty easy to get going. It's one of the 10 amps down here, right here, for low beam headlight. So I'm gonna splice that one in. Now, I'm not gonna cut this just because I want to preserve the OEM cables. So I'm just going to kind of tidy it up a little bit like this and tuck this under. And this is gonna go here. I just need to go find my fuse puller. Anyone know where the fuse puller went?
Did we drop it?
It's a minor possibility. Where's the fuse box lid? Is it in there?
It's not there, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Brent dropped it.
Oh, there it is. Right there.
I found it.
Come on, man. You found it?
Got a corresponding 10 amp in here. We'll plug this guy in. All right, let's show you how this headlight dimmer works. All right, right now, Switch Pro is off. We go ignition on, ignition's on, Switch Pro's on. Headlights are off, so it's full brightness. Headlights turn on, low brightness, so dimmer setting. Headlights off, dimmer turns back to full brightness. Ignition off, whole panel goes off. That's exactly how it should function. Yay! I'm just cleaning up my pink trigger wires. This is a terrible zip tie job, isn't it? Let's look at our wiring that the previous owner did. I'm going to splice in here and over there, bring the wires over, and then connect it to either a 35 amp circuit on my Switch Pro or one of these individual colors, which is a 20 amp circuit, depending on the load that's required here. This is all the extra wire that I've got to work with, and I think it should be more than enough. All right, first things first, our negative cable is going to go here to the distribution panel. So I'm gonna get a connector for that. I wanna use switch number 3, which is orange. This guy? How about we test this first before I permanently connect it together, yeah? Nothing? Oh wait, I haven't done this yet.
That's what what I was asking about before. I thought
I forgot to bring it over. I'll bring it over. So I'm gonna splice in the negative, and then I am going to extend the positive. Okay. What's the smart thing to do here? This would connect here, and then this would get an extension. That'll do. There you go. Does the other one work?
Yep.
Yeah, the other one works. Okay. Okay, so we have the two lights that I wanted to get set up, at least to make sure that the Switch Pro's lighting system works correctly. So we're gonna get this cleaned up. We're going to bundle these wires up for later. All these other cables will eventually use to power our light bar on top, the rack mounted lights, underbody lights, rock collar lights, everything else will be coming off of here. And then any other accessories, like a winch that may draw more power than the Switch Pro can provide, will go to this distribution block that we have set up here. So essentially all of our lighting is now ready to throw lights at.
throw the lights at?
Yeah.
Is that like our catchphrase?
Okay, it's a little bit ugly up top, but that is definitely temporary. Oh, you know what we need to do? We need to put the stickers on. Maybe the coolest thing about the Switch Pros, other than the fact that it's a really good technical system, are these stickers they come with.
Hey, can you be like a little bit more enthusiastic?
Oh my God, stickers. I love stickers. Do they have ditch lights or what would you call them? Side? Hood? A-pillar? Corner? I think they're corner lights. And then we have a front bumper light bar. Grill? I think grill. Did I tell you I love stickers? I love stickers. Cool. Look at this. Boom! All right, everyone, that is it for today's episode. Took a little bit longer than we expected, but that might be the case for every video that we work on. The Switch Pro is installed, and I must say this SDHQ custom plate is perfect. It has great fitment. I've got our corner lights wired up, our grill lights wired up. Look at that over there. The light output is nice, and there is no sound of a relay flicking on and off, which is kind of cool. That's all for today. We didn't get to the roof rack, so we're gonna have to do that on the next episode. So if you want to catch us on the next episode, like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing the roof rack. We've got a 40-inch light bar that's going to be going onto the roof rack, and then we're going to evaluate how we get some auxiliary lights all the way around the roof rack as well. That's what we have in store, as well as a couple other goodies that came in the mail that I won't reveal yet, but we'll show you next time. All right, catch you guys later.